Welcome. Thank you, everyone who has taken time out of their day to come and talk about multi-site technical SEO strategy. My guest today is the indomitable Jeff Root, who you may not realize spent 7 years in Japan. And not only did he spend time teaching English and meandering through the beautiful countryside, but he also wrote a book about SEO in 2005 that sold 25,000 copies.
Yeah,
You have it, right? You have it on
yeah,
it.
it was
Show
called
this up.
it was called Kensaku Engine Sai Tekika, or Kensaku Engine Senso, which is the search wars. I did not name it. It wasn't a war.
The search wars. Dun, 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 dun.
But yeah.
All right, so we are going to have a Q&A at the bottom of the page for you to submit questions throughout this. We'll answer them at the end of the webinar, time permitting. Give us some good ones. We love those hard questions. There'll be a short survey at the end of the webinar. It takes less than a minute. You can say, hey, I liked this. I didn't like that. I want to see more than this. Ideally, we want to bring you the information you care about and want to learn. This can be viewed on demand later. So you can still nudge your friends and give them all the FOMO, but it will be available on the site and a website or on a write-up early next week. So
just want to double check that the audio is coming through. We had one person say that the audio was not coming through so loud. Just want to double check. Mic check, mic check.
Testing, testaroo. Thank you, person in the audience, for giving me a heads up. We never want to have audio issues.
Looks like it's working. Thank you.
Wonderful. I need to project from the diaphragm. I need to bring back the old inner theater kid. I am going to go ahead and share our screen for this webinar, and we will get it started. So tell me, Mr. Root, what brings you here today? Why are you excited to come and talk about not just technical SEO, but some technical SEO at a massive scale?
Yeah, well, first, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. So I am VP of Strategic Marketing and Customer Intelligence for Hoonigan, which is an automotive lifestyle brand out of Los Angeles, and it was created by a driver by the name of Ken Block and a sort of like magazine/video producer guy named Brian Scotto. And they built this automotive lifestyle brand around which we sell merch like this hat, this shirt, for example, a bunch of automotive related stuff. And then that company was acquired by a much larger company called Wheel Pros almost a year ago. And Wheel Pros is an aftermarket manufacturer, distributor of just think of all the hot boy wheels you see. Like if you see a Ford F-150 with black wheels, chances are it's one of our brands. So it's a house of brands, probably about 45 different brands under the umbrella. And Hoonigan is sort of like the front end marketing, sort of like the D2C marketing, like sort of awareness level part of this portfolio of websites.
All right. I love it. It's exciting. It's House of Gucci, but House of Room.
Yeah, totally. With far more burnouts and broken engines.
All right, here's our agenda today, folks. You've already got some introductions. Jeff is fantastic. You probably know me by now. If not, I'm that blue-haired SEO who's always popping up in your Twitter feed, Jamie Indigo. We're going to talk about navigating complex multi-site structures and environments, creating technical SEO strategies for, it says over 30, but I just peeked and I think it's just under 50 now.
Yeah, correct. And it'll be over 54 months from now, I guarantee it.
Woof. Wild rides, burnouts galore, hopefully no broken engines.
Yeah.
And when you have that many sites, you need a website intelligent platform. So we're going to look at how to onboard one, get some tips and best practices, and wrap it up with future proofing for technical SEO success. And with that, let's dive in.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, so Hoonigan, produces a ton of content out of a studio in Los Angeles called Tire Slayer Studios. And we've got over 1 billion views on YouTube on our main channel, and then some smaller channels that are in the millions of views. And our whole thing is trying to translate that into, an e-commerce presence. Hats stickers, t-shirts, auto parts, and now into the world of aftermarket wheels. So it's this mix of like content production where you're doing a ton of stuff on YouTube, and we're trying to sort of like create engagement there that then comes over to our world of e-commerce, top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom of funnel, either signs up for an email or makes a direct purchase.
So it's organic, but it's video focused organic. And instead of being on your site, you're using platform of YouTube, because, you know, if you leave YouTube on long enough, who knows where you will end up with that autoplay.
True. So if you want to see a real good example of kind of the thing that we're all about, were we going to play a video? Were we going to do like a brand reel or no?
I mean, I can pull that up over here and get it queued, but keep it chatting. I'll get that
Okay.
ready.
So if you go to YouTube and you search for Hoonigan, or if you search for the word Gymkhana, Gymkhana is sort of like Ken Block doing the just insane driving where he and Brian Scotto will shut down a city, like San Francisco, for example, or like Detroit, and they will do just insane car mayhem in that town, in camera. And then publish that to YouTube, and those videos will get tens of millions of views. And so I think there's at least 2 coming out later this year.
That is fantastic. All right.
Yeah, it's really wild. They're really like sort of like tip of the spear when it came to doing wild stuff on YouTube, and they've been going for a while.
I'm getting this video pulled up and queued. Let's hop over this share. Oh,
okay, yeah. So this is our
real quick. I gotta make sure we share the sound. There we go.
Yeah. So this is just a sizzle reel.
Fantastic. All right. Please don't make me restart my Zoom right now. That is not an option. Oh.
Any Yeah, so that's Tire Slayer Studios. That's where I work. That's the office. And that's in Compton. And we have a retail store there that you can visit. And if you bring a cool car, we'll let you slide it around the back. Yeah, so that's sort of like where the video production stuff happens. That's where our e-commerce, a lot of our e-commerce stuff is warehoused. There's teams working behind the scenes from that space on the brand Hoonigan. But like I said, there's 45 other brands within this portfolio that we're now in.
I mean, that is a fun day in the office right there.
Yeah, there's always something amazing happening and always something terrible happening at the same time. It's quality mayhem, as we say.
I adore that. I like to think of my personal brand as like useful terror. I bring the terror, but only when necessary, in a very beneficial way. So you are using content creation to really get that visibility out there. We are content SEO marketing, and it brings people on in. But fundamentally, the business makes its money on selling these parts, and we've got almost 50 brands. How do we stop cannibalism across these?
Yeah, so this is really interesting. So we've got the entire sort of landscape of e-commerce is within our portfolio. So we have brand websites like AmericanRacing.com, which makes really cool wheels for your Mustang, for example. And that site now sells direct to consumer. But American Racing also sells into B2B sites. So we own throttle.com, THROTL.com. And that's kind of like, everything under the sun, kind of aftermarket auto parts e-commerce site. And so if
you're a business specializing in doing aftermarket work on cars, you would go there.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you're a tuner, if you're working on stuff in your garage or doing goofy stuff, maybe not Model T parts, but if you got some like old Supra that you're working on, or a Mustang, or whatever you're working on that's relatively within the last 30 years or so, that site will have aftermarket auto parts for you. But they also sell that same brand of American Racing, and then we have other other sites that we've recently acquired that also sell that brand. Plus we have distributors that also sell that same brand. So what you end up getting is just at the paid search level, you get a ton of internal competition for brand terms. But at
So
the
Throttle could be bidding on American Racing parts because they
That's right.
sell them, but American Racing would be too.
That's right. And so I manage that team. That paid search team rolls up to me. And what we're trying to do is rationalize across the entire portfolio. Where do we earn traffic for brand search versus where do we earn it for paid search? And are we earning it internally, or are we competing with, for example, our partners? So we don't want to have like 4 or 5 like internal sites plus business partners that we're all bidding on the same terms, because the only winner there is Google, right? So we're trying to create this sort of view of.
But I mean, Google is definitely telling every one of them to bid on their brand terms.
Totally, bid on brands, and agencies do that as well as a way to bump up ROAS and increase their media spend. So one of the things we've done in that realm, I'm probably jumping the gun a little bit here, but one of the things we did in that realm, me and another guy at Wheel Pros, is we pulled everything in-house for paid search and paid social. So now we don't have to inflate ROAS by bidding on brand terms, right? We can look to see which of our sites are doing well for brand terms in organic search. We can look at the level of competition there. And like for Hoonigan, for example, no one's bidding on that term Hoonigan, so we don't need to bid on that. So we've removed all of our paid search for brand terms around Hoonigan. And now we did that probably a couple of months ago, and now organic search is our #1 acquisition channel for that brand.
That's fantastic. So it sounds like there's a lot of persona building for each of these brands. So did you establish broad stroke personas across the portfolio, or does each individual brand that comes, you're acquiring new sites, do they come built with personas?
It's all of the above, really. So when new sites, when new businesses are acquired, they come with their entire marketing teams, their marketing stack, the way they've gone to market, the reason they're successful, which is why they're being acquired by Hoonigan, or by Wheel Pros rather. And so that comes with that whole world. And so what's really cool about our SEO program is that it rolls up to a chief digital officer, who previously we didn't have one. And we had a guy come on back in I think March of this year. And
what does the chief digital officer do? Yeah,
so every touch point about digital, he is an expert in. And it's, every once in a while you get to work with someone who is really good at one particular field, or really good at a number of different fields, but it's rare that you can really meet someone who is a developer by training, but also understands each digital marketing acquisition channel at a very native level. And so we're fortunate that we found one of these people. And so we don't need to sell SEO to this guy, right? He gets it, he understands it. And so we don't need to spend time sort of like crafting reasons why we want to hire SEO people, or reasons why we want to buy a tool like Deepcrawl, for example. We don't need to explain these things to him, because he already understands the importance of that channel at the C-suite level.
It's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful.
Right. Cheers, right. So, and I've worked in places in the past where you really have to sell SEO in at the C-suite level, because they're not focused on, or it's channel conflict between, with their other sort of like B2B partners. Or they just natively just don't understand it. They don't have experience there, or they think traffic is something you buy. But my argument on that, is, I'm sure everyone in this seminar will agree, is that, well, if you're going to build a website, why not build it in a way that can earn traffic? And so one of the things we're trying to really get a good understanding of at the portfolio level is the difference between brand and non-brand traffic. And there's a really good video where you can use, it's on YouTube, where you can take data from Google Search Console and display it in Google Data Studio and split out brand versus non-brand. We'll share that afterwards. We'll somehow connect that to this. But I've tasked our in-house SEO people with like just mastering that and doing that across every brand, so that we can see how much traffic we're earning for brand and non-brand. Because some sites are just very brand specific, like American Racing, but other sites like Throttle, for example, sells a number of other brands and sells a number of other parts, hundreds of thousands of SKUs that we want to earn non-brand traffic for.
That's brilliant.
So like aftermarket exhaust for Ford F-150, right? Like that's not necessarily our brand, but we want to appear for that kind of search, preferably without having to pay for it.
I think that's a great place for us to move to this next piece of our talk today. And that is, how do we create a technical strategy? So this idea of strategically with our content teams, with our marketing teams, with our paid teams, we have a great focus on figuring out personas. Are they B2B? Are they B2C? But when it comes to making implementations, changes to these sites, these all have different tech platforms. I've got to peek under the hood, and there is gadgets and gizmos aplenty in there. So how do you make development changes as part of technical SEO and moving through here?
Yeah, so we're sort of working on like a very top level 4 or 5 quarters of SEO strategy. And so if you think of like all of the like what the roadmap looks like for the next 5 quarters. So if you think of all the tasks associated with SEO for one particular site, you know, how much of the content is indexable, what sort of rankings are you getting, what sort of traffic you're getting for brand and non-brand, et cetera, all those things, what's your site speed, all that sort of stuff. And we're sort of mapping that across the top against every brand. And then internally, we prioritize those brands, the ones that, you know, need the most help, or the ones that where we have the best margin, or the ones that are strategically important for the rest of the portfolio. And so we're creating this sort of matrix view across the entire portfolio of each of the SEO steps.
So I can repeat that back to you. It really sounds like these changes start with a core sense of visibility. We need to have a shared source of truth as we make these decisions.
Yeah, exactly. So bringing on new staff and just getting everyone sort of looking at the same thing is like the first super important step, and sort of like defining, you know, like where we want to be, where we are right now, and then saying, okay, you know, for Cyber 5, we want to be here. And then for us, the spring is very important, because that's when people start working on their cars. They start, you know, in Q1, people are buying parts, whatever, to get ready to go out for the summer. So we look at our strategic sales sort of periods, and then we try to schedule our development to happen before that, not during.
Okay, so we understand the cyclical nature, and some of these are going to be more cyclical than others. So we know spring is when the customers, the individual humans, that's when they're getting in the garage, the weather's nice, they're starting to work on the car. So we want to make sure technical work is done on those before the spring hits. We've got other ones that might be more B2B, which would have a different time frame for their optimal periods. Yeah,
it's a lot like the fashion industry, where you're sort of like working a few quarters ahead of what's coming.
So how do you handle all of the tools integrated across these and get to a place of standardizing them?
Yeah, so we're constantly looking at what our tech stack looks like, what our marketing stack looks like. And whenever you know, a new site or a new team or a new business is acquired, they're going to come with their stack, right? So we look at that against ours. And, you know, shameless plug for Deepcrawl is that we're really confident in this tool, really like using this tool. I think our crawl budget is, we purchased like 1 million URLs a month. And we're able to work with the Deepcrawl team to say, okay, well, that 1 million URLs covers, you know, all of these sites, but don't include these subdomains, or don't include these, you know, like we try to be very efficient with that. And then we sort of look at the reporting that's produced from that, and then we measure it up against what other folks are looking at, what the new SEO teams from a newly acquired company, for example, what their reporting looks like, or what senior leadership in another business is sort of like looking at in their world. And then we just sort of like get together and try and rationalize that, and look for ways to sort of like merge in terms of talent and tools.
Excellent.
Right now, to be honest, we've got a few too many tools, and we're just trying to get rid of a few of them to get down to just the core and use that across the portfolio.
I mean, that seems like the most meaningful way to go ahead and handle this, because then you have, you know, teams who are working on one specific site. They can look and see what other sites are doing. Oh, look, they made this recent change and there was a great benefit to it. So there's almost like a shared sense of like, you get to learn from each other in this business as these sites go.
Yeah, correct. We're really into creating shared learnings across the different units, because we're dispersed, right? And we're going to stay dispersed. We're not all going to be in one space. The pandemic really, I mean, even without pandemic, I think we would be very dispersed, but now we're all going to stay very remote and very dispersed, and we just need to be able to share learnings efficiently within the groups, and not be, sometimes if you work in the agency, your coworkers are your competitors, right? Definitely experienced that in the past. And I'm just trying to culturally just sort of like not, just to create a space that's just not, it's much more collusive than competitive.
We go so much farther as allies. And that's one of the things I love about the pro services team here at Deepcrawl. We understand that there is no way to be an expert in all the things.
Yeah.
No desire to, but I can learn from my teammates. Sometimes I can take lead, sometimes they can take lead. It's a really good place to be in that collaborative environment. And I think I'm hearing a common theme here is we have to make allies.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why earlier I mentioned C-suite, getting buy-in from C-suite, and everything sort of cascades down from there.
I mean, that takes us right here to our best practices for onboarding website intelligence. What happens when you finally get the ability to look across your portfolio of sites? If you had one piece of advice you could give, Jeff, to somebody who has gone from, having a couple of sites, they're already enterprise, but now there's all these new ones added into, what would it be?
Try to gain as much experience with as many tools as possible, because the thing we keep running into is like new team, new folks come in, they've got tools. Everyone's using a different sort of suite of tools, and the more you can understand the pros and cons of each of those, then the better you can sort of rationalize what you need to keep and what you don't need to keep, and where the overlap is between tools.
Instead of just keeping all of the marketing pixels firing on every page. I love this strategy.
I'm super happy when someone's like, no, I want to keep using Screaming Frog or Xeno. Absolutely, by all means.
If someone out there is still using Xeno, please message me. I want to know, is this tool still around and has it been updated since 2013? So how do you align stakeholders?
I guess we just sort of have to work backwards from results, work backward from data, and we can all see how year on year, organic search just seems to get less and less traffic all the time, right? It's like an industry-wide trend. That's not news. We all sort of see.
We're getting shoved further and further down the page. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's less and less real estate, right? So the data, just presenting data in a rational way, just to all the stakeholders to be like, okay. And that's why I try to split between brand and non-brand, because that view is very different, right? Brand is very easy, generally speaking, to earn traffic, but you could have to create brand awareness to get people to search for that brand. But non-brand is where the real competition for SEO is, and that's where you can, attract people top of funnel. You can even get people middle and bottom of funnel with non-brand words. So that's where I try to create this sort of view with the folks in marketing. That copy is extremely important, and a view with the folks in IT that, all these things like Core Web Vitals and site speed and all these technical SEO things are also important in how we build our site.
I love how excited devs will get when you show them, hey, I gave you these tickets to help fix our CLS. Here's a chart and I can show you the impact. Look at the good work you did. Yeah. I think it's a great way of getting buy-in from my teammates who work in engineering.
Yeah. One of the things I've done in this role and in my previous role is I've hired technical SEO people who are coders. So in this environment I'm in right now, I can go to our tech SEO lead, and she's a coder, she's a programmer. She can get in and make code level changes without sending tickets through Jira, without going through a bureaucratic IT environment. She can actually make changes herself. And I think that that's been really helpful. She can't do it on every site that we have because there's so many different platforms and there's different sort of rules of engagement for each of these. But on some of them, she can go in and make the changes very quickly, which is super. That's more of like an entrepreneurial environment, right? When you have your own site, just make the changes you want to see and test them. So some of our domains, we're able to do that. And I really value that.
I love that you allow the agility when it's available to go ahead and make these changes quickly. And also that person is so talented. That's a rare combination of skills. Tell me about getting C-suite buy-in though. That tends to be everyone's biggest challenge is getting that C-suite engagement.
Yeah. So didn't you guys do a webinar on that concept recently, or maybe publish some content on that?
Yeah.
So like I keep saying, it all starts from the top. So the more you can sort of prove you lucked out with your
CDO, but I'm sure you've had experiences prior to Hoonigan's where it was a little bit more of a challenge. So if someone's facing that, how do you go about it?
I keep trying to present data, and the thing that I've showed in the past that's really like changed the perspective is that the thing I keep talking about is like when you look at a graph of here's how much traffic we earn for brand, and here's how little we earn for non-brand, and that sort of like sells SEO very easily because it's the non-brand where you have to be really good at SEO to earn that traffic. So I use that visual quite a bit. There's another tool out there that we use called Pi Data Metrics, and they present like a radar graph showing like, here's all the different components of a SERP, and here's all the different content types that appear in a SERP, and then here's how you're tracking against them.
That's really cool.
On a given body of keywords.
Yeah. I mean, with SEO, with organic results getting pushed further and further down a page, how do you set expectation with these stakeholders?
Yeah, I don't know. It's case by, that's a hard question actually, because like if the stakeholders are like if they get it, then you know that you need to put in the work to try and achieve results. But if they don't get it, or if they just think if they think it's just same as like buying traffic, then it's a much harder sell. So that's really case by case. But I just try to show as much data as possible in the simplest sort of way, you know, that executive summary style.
Yeah, that visibility is absolutely great. Because once we have visibility, we can do the diagnostics, we can do iteration, and then we can show the ROI.
Yeah. And I try to repeat without being too annoying. I try to just stay on message at timely points in decision making, because sometimes you might have a perfect message for C-suite, but it's the wrong time to tell them because of budgets or because of what's happening or whatever. But I just try to stay on message and repeat things when I know that window is there.
Get a whole folder just ready for a copy paste and a send. Let's talk about future proofing. It's a funny term to bring up in SEO, but we all have fears of new changes. A good friend just called the helpful content update the neurosis update, and I cannot unhear that. It is hilarious, but there are opportunities for us to create a runway of future proofing. So tell me how you go about that.
This is where I love publishing an SEO roadmap to anyone who wants to see it, to marketing, to IT, to C-suite, to people who aren't involved in the web. And so they can see, you know, 4 or 5 quarters ahead, sort of like what our plan is, what our approach is, and how it applies to everything in the portfolio. So publishing that document as like sort of like here's what the plan is very easy to digest. So that tends to get buy-in. And then the other part, and we talked about this earlier, is for us, bringing paid search in-house was a real game changer for us, because it allowed us to spend less on brand and use that same budget elsewhere, either for paid social or for different parts of the funnel in shopping or in paid search. So like reallocating spend by not having to bid on brand terms was huge for us, and that was we're only able to do that because we brought it in-house.
That is brilliant. So we have road mapping, we have process. So as we onboard new clients, I know at Deepcrawl I've helped you go through, we're identifying what's there, what's working, what's not. Your team prioritizes the order that we go them through, information shared back. So there's a number of processes in play.
Yeah.
Tell me about interchannel alliances and how that can future-proof our SEO.
Yeah, so what's really fortunate for us is that all of these digital marketing acquisition channels sort of roll up under me, and then I report to the CDO. So there's buy-in at that, you know, the whole thing is structured to get the most out of each channel. But I've worked in environments where SEO is very separate from paid search, or where digital marketing is very separate from marketing. So just creating, like for us, creating a structure where there's shared learnings across paid search, paid social, and then creating like, you know, weekly meetings can sometimes be a bit much if you're just, you know, in the course of your all the meetings and stuff you have to go to. But I really like having a high cadence on meetings, so that people can drop in and out when they want to, but so that everyone is sort of like aware of what each channel is doing, right? When email starts improving, like, you know, folks need to know, or when paid search starts improving, folks need to know. So I try to socialize as much data as possible across all the stakeholders that have anything to do with any of these channels.
That is I think that's absolutely the key. Way back in the day, SEO is, one person in marketing, and they were going through, they were optimizing titles and meta tags, getting those alt tags in there. But now SEO is really some of the parts. We've got UX design, product engineering, all of these components in play. On being able to see them all even is a pretty big challenge. So to do what you're doing at scale, it sounds like we're providing interchannel communication. We have a roll-up stream to our C-level where there's buy-in from the higher ups, constant communication and availability. It sounds like that would also give those channel folks opportunities to leverage each other's work as it becomes available.
Yeah. And one of the things we did here is that we sort of snuck SEO in through another angle, which was what we're calling brand health. So, okay, we'll get to QA real quickly. What we're calling brand health. And so, as you acquire all these brands, you kind of want to get a view of like, how is this brand trending, right? Are they going up? Are they going down? Are they flat? And how does that compare to your other brands? So we created this like sort of brand health program. And then into that, I put SEO as one of the components of brand health, because if you look at query volume for brand, that's indicative of the effectiveness of your advertising and the quality or the strength of your brand, right? So we sort of snuck SEO into this brand health program, which
it's a healthier website. I mean, a healthy site performs well in search. We are just simply able to see technical issues that impact every medium, channel, device, and user. It's pretty great. So one last question for you before we pop over to these great Q&A. Where is SEO going from here?
Oh, geez. Good question. We have so literally, 20 years of
you've been here a while, sir. You wrote the book, at least you wrote the book in Japan. Where are we heading next?
I think the premise is still the same. Like if you're gonna make a website, you might as well make one that can earn traffic, right? So I think that has never changed. One thing that's really cool is just the general awareness of this as a legit digital marketing acquisition channel. Previously, SEO was seen as something that was black hat when it may have been completely white hat. But that sort of stigma, I think, is gone now. It's just such, what the SERPs are like. It's so competitive, right? So you just need to get better and better at like long tail. Need to get better and better at conversion when people get to your site. The thing for me that I keep trying to go back to is like, I really like using organic search to get people to sign up for email and get them into our CRM system. I see that as a key conversion. So for me, I'm just trying to
nurture.
Exactly. Bring people into the world of email and SMS marketing, because we're, especially if we're doing offer driven stuff, that's where you pull that lever of a discount.
Oh, those coupon codes. Yes.
30% off for Labor Day or whatever you're doing, SMS and email can really drive that. So I try to use SEO to pull people into that channel.
I love it. You ready to answer some questions?
Absolutely.
We've got a hard hitting one here from Joe Hin. What are the actionable things that can be implemented to move the needle?
Yeah, so site speed, getting an analysis of your site speed. If you're in e-commerce, then you know how important page speed is. The quality of your calls to action, right? So I'm a huge fan of copy, of the copy being good. And if you look at Hoonigan's got a very distinct style of
here.
Very distinct style of e-commerce. And I like how focused that copy is on getting people to do things that feel genuine, right?
Yeah. Like there's actually a value to you for signing up for emails.
Yeah.
All right. Our friend Jay Egger asks, what are common technical issues you often see in media publications?
In media publications.
You have a bit of a media mogul, my friend. Hoonigan is all about it.
Yeah. So it's not really a technical issue, but it's kind of like do you want people to consume your content on your website, or do you want them to consume it on your social media channel, or do you want them to consume it on another platform owned by like YouTube, for example, like where do you want them to consume your media? And that one's, like I said, it's not a technical channel, but it's something that we're always wrestling with. So
People
like,
have very strong opinions on it too. And
yeah.
perhaps
So like on YouTube, you got your video, then in the description, do you want to put like a ton of information about, well, here's some of the products that you saw in there. We're testing out a new carousel, by the way. I think Shopify and YouTube have a new integration where you can curate the product that's shown in the video through a carousel at the bottom of the video, which is pretty cool.
oh wow.
I think we got that live just last week. But it's not
YouTube finally got up with Instagram.
yeah. But so do you want people consuming there, or do you want to try and drive people to your website to watch that same video and then kind of serve that in an e-commerce environment? So we're constantly struggling with that.
I mean, if you can achieve the add to cart, does it matter what medium?
Yeah, right.
All right. So we have a question from Wyerning. SEMrush, Ahrefs, Moz, which do you prefer? And they also say, thank you for the amazing insights.
That's such a great question. So, like I have the luxury right now of working in an environment where we have just about every tool under the sun. So we can sort of like jump back and forth. It's just like browsers. Like if you love that tool, then, like if you report to me as an SEO person, a technical SEO person, whatever, and you're like wed to that tool, like I don't want to take it away from you, right? Like whatever helps you do your job is the right tool, just like doing car stuff or whatever,
Yeah.
So I have my own sort of preferences of tools, but I don't try to force other people to have that same preference. If people want to use, a mix of their own tools, whatever, like carpenters show up and they bring their own tools, right? So like, I don't like the company I work for now did not buy me a computer. I brought my own computer.
If you made me work on a PC, I would be so much slower just because I would keep doing the wrong key commands nonstop.
So, but in saying that, I get a ton of value out of Ahrefs. That's one that we go to a lot.
Does that let you scale across all of the sites?
We're not using it across all of the sites right now. We're using it on a few, and the few that we do use it on, we get good insights. So, but Moz is like in like a different world, right? So, if you've been following, Rand is like this legend.
I cut my teeth on Whiteboard Fridays.
Yeah. So, like we used to copy his stuff all the time and publish it in Japan. It was fantastic.
Well, it wasn't available. There was no Japanese version of it.
Exactly.
SEO was pretty geocentric for a while.
Yeah. And what is it? Good artists copy, great artists steal. How does that expression go? Anyway, so we used to we used him as a voice of authority in a different market for a long time, which was really good for us. And I just have a ton of confidence in what that company is now, and then what his later company, SparkToro.
SparkToro, yeah.
So we work in this world of social media too. So we're always evaluating, like, well, how much influence does this person have, and what is the definition of influence versus this other person, whether that person's a driver or an Instagram person or whatever. So we're just trying to get an understanding, and SparkToro helps us do that.
That is really cool. I think they offer like a little bit of a free trial. You can at least find out the bot ratios on people. I've always found that one to be very interesting. All right, last question for you. As the orchestra over a cacophony of sites, what advice would you give someone who right now is, in-house, they work on one site and they're excited about the idea of leveling up, of moving from working on one single site to overseeing the vast valley that you have?
So in one eye, I always have real-time traffic open. So developing a native sense of what traffic is doing at any time of day, and what each acquisition channel should be doing at a given time of day. I think developing that for one site is scalable across many sites.
It's a really scientific method here. We have to observe before we start making a hypothesis.
Yeah. Developing intuition on traffic for your site at just a very innate level. And then trying to get into an environment in which you can apply that to more domains. I think that's super helpful. And what I said before, just getting an understanding of the sort of landscape of all the tools out there. And so knowing how to sort of like in circumstance, pick and choose between them. So right now we're using Deepcrawl, but we also have an agent or a company that uses Spotify. So we're sort of like, going back and forth on what differences between these tools can be, or how our staff are comfortable with the different tools, and just trying to share things across back and forth. So the more exposure you can get to the different tools, I think that's super helpful.
Really knowing the landscape. That's the trick. When you get in there, drop the assumptions. All right. So our next step today, of course, if you have more questions, if you want to learn cool new things, you can follow our friend Jeff here on Twitter at Jefes. That is JEFES. Fun fact, Jefe was his name when he was a New Zealand DJ. This man has had every job possible. Deepcrawl is on Twitter at Deepcrawl. You can find me at Jammer Volts. We also have an ebook available about how to make your site a performance multiplier. New information goes up on our blog all the time, including my personal favorite, Webmaster Hangouts recaps. And of course, you can request a free demo by following this link. Our next webinar up is with Luis Bueno. He is a apps optimization specialist, and he's going to talk about how to do an audit. Deepcrawl thanks you. I thank you. Thank you so much, Jeff, for being here today, and to everyone who has joined us.
Always a pleasure.
Oh my goodness. So many Q&A questions came in. We'll try and get to these on Twitter and answer them best we can. Appreciate you all, and have a wonderful day.